My girlfriend slept with her ex while I was paying off her student loans, so I changed everything overnight and she's begging to explain. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and for the past 3 years I really thought I had it all figured out. Stable job, decent apartment, a dog I rescued named Milo, and a girlfriend I was ready to spend the rest of my life with. Her name's Chloe. She's 27, warm smile, artsy soul, a little chaotic, but I loved her for it. From the beginning, she had a mountain of student debt, and I remember her crying one night saying it kept her up most nights. I didn't even hesitate. I told her, "We'll handle it together. Not you, we." That's what partners do, right? She looked at me like I hung the moon. Said no one had ever believed in her like I did. It felt good to be her rock. I started covering more and more, helping with rent, food, and eventually I started chipping away at her loans. At first, she resisted, but after a few months, she let me take over the payments. Said it made her feel safe. And hearing that, man, that made me feel proud. We talked about getting married. Kids someday. A cabin in Vermont, just us and Milo, sipping coffee under the pine trees. I was all in. I thought she was too. But even back then, if I'm honest with myself, there were cracks I ignored, like how she never let me touch her phone, or how she'd go on long walks and come back smelling like someone else's cologne, faint but distinct. She'd laugh it off, accuse me of being paranoid, say, "What, you don't trust me now?" And every time I'd swallow my doubt because I wanted to trust her, because I'd already invested so much. Because love makes you ignore what your gut's screaming. But now, looking back, I should have listened to the screaming, and the worst part? That was just the beginning. About 6 months into living together, Chloe told me she wanted to cut back on her hours at the cafe. She said she'd been feeling overwhelmed, on the edge of burnout, and needed time to focus on her mental health. I didn't even blink. I told her, "Take the time you need. I've got us." At first it felt good, being the provider, the steady one. I picked up a few freelance projects on top of my regular job to cover the extra expenses. Rent, groceries, utilities, even her phone bill quietly landed in my lap. When her car broke down, I put it on my credit card without a second thought. She cried when I handed her the keys. Threw her arms around me, whispered, "No one's ever believed in me like you do." That sentence hit deep. I grew up with a dad who thought emotions were weakness, so hearing that, knowing I could be a safe place for someone, it meant everything to me. But as time went on, things shifted. She started sleeping in later. Missing therapy appointments. Saying she needed space, but never really defining what that meant. Her phone was always on Do Not Disturb. I'd glance over sometimes and catch glimpses of messages she'd swipe away so fast you'd think they were hot. "Who was that?" I asked once, trying to sound casual. She smiled too quickly. "Just a friend from the cafe. You wouldn't know him." Then kissed my cheek like that was supposed to settle it. I didn't push. She told me about her trust issues, her fear of confrontation, how anxiety made her freeze up when she felt cornered. I told myself not to be one more man who made her feel unsafe, so I buried my doubts and kept carrying the weight. Both of ours, but the silence between us, it was getting heavier than the bills. Out of nowhere, Chloe became sweet, like over-the-top sweet. She'd leave little notes on the bathroom mirror. "You're my rock." She'd bring me coffee while I worked. Kiss me on the neck out of nowhere, call me her hero. It felt amazing at first, like we were reconnecting. I thought maybe the pressure had finally started to ease and she was beginning to feel safe with me. But as fast as that warmth came, it vanished. She started pulling away again. Said she was too tired to watch our favorite shows. Stopped joining me and Milo on evening walks. Told me work was draining her, even though she was barely doing 3 shifts a week. She started staying out late. Said she was grabbing drinks with coworkers or just needed time to think. And her phone? Glued to her hand. Face down on the table. Always locked. She even added a passcode to her iPad, one I didn't know. One night, I asked gently, "Is everything okay? You seem far away lately." She rolled her eyes. "You're overthinking again. You always do this. I asked about the phone." Her voice got sharp. "So now I'm not allowed to have privacy? God, why are you being so insecure lately?" I hated that word, insecure. It made me feel small, weak, like I was the problem. So I backed off, again, to show her I trusted her. To prove I wasn't the controlling boyfriend she feared. That same week, I got my annual bonus, a couple $1,000s. I didn't spend it on myself. I used it to make a lump sum payment toward her student loan balance. I surprised her with it, and she cried like I had given her the world. She said, "I don't deserve you." And for a moment, I felt like maybe love really could fix things. But later that night, I couldn't sleep, because deep down, a voice kept whispering, "Then why does something still feel off?" Chloe's birthday landed on a Thursday that year. I'd planned a weekend getaway, just the two of us at a lakeside cabin, nothing too fancy, but cozy and peaceful. When I brought it up a week before, she smiled, shook her head, and said, "Honestly, I just want to keep it low-key this year. No trips, no parties. Just you, me, and Milo. That's all I need." It sounded sweet, simple, intimate. So I ordered in her favorite Thai food, lit some candles, and we spent the evening on the couch with a bottle of wine. She seemed content, not ecstatic, but not disappointed either. I kissed her goodnight and told her I was lucky to love her. The next morning, I'm at work during a slow moment, scrolling Instagram when her story pops up. It's a boomerang of some fancy dessert, a flaming creme brulee or something like that, at a restaurant I know we didn't go to. The caption read, "Best night ever, thank you for making me feel so special." No mention of me, no tag, no explanation, I just stared at it, blinking. That wasn't our Thai food. That wasn't our night. When I asked her about it later, pretending to be casual, she waved it off like it was nothing. "Oh, my coworker surprised me after work. I didn't want to ruin our quiet night, so I didn't mention it. It was just a quick dessert." I barely stayed. I nodded, smiled, said, "That's nice of them," but something twisted in my gut, because the picture didn't look like an afterthought. It looked like a date. That night, I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. The dress she was wearing, the lighting, the way her face was glowing. It didn't feel like a casual coworker thing. I didn't confront her. Not yet, but from that moment on, I started watching everything. It happened on a Tuesday night. Chloe had just come home from a long shift at the cafe. Hair slightly damp from rain, makeup still a little too perfect for someone who'd been on her feet all day. I didn't ask questions. I just handed her a towel, kissed her forehead, and told her to take a hot shower. While she was in the bathroom, I was on the couch with Milo, scrolling through emails on my laptop. That's when her iPad lit up on the kitchen counter. I hadn't touched it in months. I didn't even know she still used it. But then I saw the message preview. Just one line. "Can't stop thinking about last weekend," from a name I didn't recognize. Ben. My stomach dropped. My first instinct was to tell myself it was innocent. Maybe a friend, maybe a mistake. But my hands moved faster than my doubt. I opened the iPad. Her messages were synced. I tapped the thread. And what I saw, I'll never forget: flirty texts, nudes, late-night miss-you voice notes, hotel addresses, meetups going back weeks, maybe months. It wasn't just some guy. It was her ex, the same guy who cheated on her in college, the one she said emotionally destroyed her, the one she swore she'd never even speak to again. I took a screenshot of everything and airdropped it to my phone. Then I closed the app, set the iPad back exactly where I found it. She came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, humming. Kissed me like nothing had happened. I smiled back, played along, let her fall asleep in my arms. But something inside me had snapped, not just the betrayal, but the realization that I had funded the freedom she used to crawl back to the man who once broke her, and from that moment on, I wasn't going to be the fool in this story. I didn't scream. I didn't throw her iPad across the room. I didn't even flinch when she curled into me that night and whispered, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." I just lay there, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. The truth didn't come crashing in like some loud explosion. It sank in slowly, like poison in the bloodstream. Every memory we had, every sacrifice I'd made suddenly felt hollow, false. But I refused to let her see me bleed, so I played the role. The doting boyfriend. The provider. The clueless, loyal guy who would keep footing the bill while she sneaked off to hotel rooms with someone who'd once left her shattered. But inside, I was sharpening my silence into a weapon. I started collecting everything. Loan payment receipts with my name on them, screenshots of our texts where she begged me to help, photos of the apartment furniture I bought, Uber receipts from the nights she said she was working late. I made a folder, backed it up in 2 places, labeled it Exit Strategy. I reached out to my old college friend who's now a lawyer. Told him I needed hypothetical advice about ending a domestic relationship where finances were tangled and one party had committed fraud-level betrayal. He didn't even ask for details. Just said, "I've got you. Document everything. Move in silence." So I did. I started discreetly shifting some of my savings into an account with only my name on it. Changed the password on my investment apps. Removed her as a backup contact on everything from my bank to my phone plan. Every smile I gave her was calculated. Every "I love you" was rehearsed. She thought she was playing me, but what she didn't realize was that I was setting the stage. It was 2:17 a.m. Chloe was sound asleep beside me, arm draped across my chest like I was still her safe place. Her breathing slow and steady, wrapped in the same blanket I once bought her after she said flannel made her feel loved. I stared at the ceiling for a while. Heart calm, mind clear, then I slipped out of bed. I moved quietly through the apartment, Milo looking up from his dog bed with confused eyes, as if he could feel the shift in the air. I gave him a soft pat and whispered, "Good boy. Just wait." I opened my laptop and logged into every account tied to her life. Within 45 minutes, her student loan auto payments? Canceled. Her name on my insurance policy? Removed. Streaming platform she used under my login? Logged out. Passwords changed. Emergency contacts at work and healthcare? Updated. Her name vanished. I deleted her fingerprint access from my phone. Logged out her iPad from shared cloud storage. Everything she used that relied on me, gone. Like cutting threads off a puppet, one by one. Then I opened my work portal and booked an entire week off. Personal leave, no explanation. I didn't tell her. I wouldn't need to, because in 7 days, I was going to disappear from her world. I spent the next few days pretending everything was fine. I kissed her good morning. I cooked her favorite pasta. I listened while she vented about how distant Ben's been lately. The irony nearly made me choke on my own smile. But every night, I packed a little more. Quietly, slowly, planning the perfect exit. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about closure on my terms. She'd been writing the script for months. She just didn't know I'd started rewriting the ending. 2 nights before I planned to leave, I made a call I'd been avoiding. Chloe's mom, Diane. We'd always had a good relationship. She's the type of woman who sends handwritten thank you cards and bakes you a pie just because it's Tuesday. She once told me, "You're the first man Chloe's dated that I actually like." I wasn't calling to gossip. I wasn't calling to stir drama. I just didn't want to vanish without giving someone decent, the truth. She picked up after the second ring. "Hey, sweetheart! Everything okay?" I swallowed hard. "Hey, Diane! I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear." There was a pause. "All right?" "I'm listening," so I told her, calmly, no yelling. No bitterness. Just the facts. The affair with her ex, the money I'd been sending toward Chloe's loans, the lies, the proof. She was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. That's not the woman I raised. I told her I wasn't calling to make her choose sides. I said, "You're her mom. That's forever. I respect that. I just wanted you to know I'm leaving, not out of spite, but because I deserve peace." There was a moment of silence before she whispered, "You do. You really do, and thank you for telling me. Most people wouldn't have bothered." We didn't say much more after that. Just a quiet goodbye. I hung up feeling strangely lighter, like the universe had nodded back at me. I hadn't just been used. I had mattered, at least to someone. And soon, I'd be gone before Chloe even realized the storm was coming. She left for work at 9:42 a.m., gave me a quick kiss, barely touched her coffee, rushed out the door in one of those "I'm late but glowing anyway" moods. She had no idea. Not the slightest clue that when she walked out, she was stepping out of our life for the very last time. I waited 5 minutes. Just to be sure. Then I moved. I'd already boxed up most of my stuff, quietly, over days. The rest I packed in under an hour. Just the essentials. Clothes, laptop, my documents, a framed photo of Milo from the shelter. Everything else, I left behind. Not out of forgetfulness, out of finality. The apartment felt weirdly hollow by noon. Quiet. Still. Like even the air knew this chapter was over. I walked to the kitchen table and placed a single manila envelope right in the center. Inside it were printed screenshots of the messages with Ben, a full transaction log of every payment I made toward her loans, copies of receipts from rent, utilities, car repairs, and all in my name, and one note, handwritten, no signature, I paid your debt. I believed in you, and you spent that freedom on someone else. That was it. I took one last look at the place we called home, the candles she liked, the blanket she always stole, the dent in the couch where we used to cuddle. Then I walked out, no door slam, no final words, just the soft click of the lock behind me. I blocked her on everything. Phone, socials, email, even Spotify. If she called from another number, I wouldn't pick up. If she showed up, I wouldn't answer. I was done explaining pain to the person who caused it, and while she wouldn't know it yet, that silence was the loudest thing I'd ever said. It took her 3 days to find me. I don't know how. Maybe a friend slipped up. Maybe she guessed. Or maybe she just followed the trail of silence I left behind. But there she was. Sunday afternoon. A pounding on my new door that shook the entire hallway. At first, I didn't move. Milo barked from the couch, low and anxious. Then I heard her voice. "Open the door! Please, just let me talk to you!" I stood there, heart still, mind detached. Then, I opened it. She looked like a storm. Mascara smudged, hair in chaos, hoodie over pajamas. Her eyes were red and wild. "What the fuck am my name? You just vanish? After everything?" She started crying. No, sobbing. Fists clenched, shaking like her world had collapsed. It didn't mean anything. I swear, it was a mistake. I don't even know why I did it. She stepped closer. "You don't understand, I was scared. You made things feel so real, too real. I've never had anyone love me like that." Her voice cracked. "Please, can we just talk? Just once?" I let her speak. Let her unload every excuse, every tear-soaked confession, every desperate reach for the version of me that still might have been waiting. But I didn't say a word. Not a breath. Not a nod. Just silence. Cold, resolute, final. And then, without flinching, I closed the door. Mid-sentence, mid-tear. Locked it. Milo sat beside me, head tilted, waiting to understand what just happened. I exhaled, because that moment, that was my closure. No yelling. No revenge, just the sound of her sob breaking on the other side of the door. As I finally let go of everything on mine, I never said a word to anyone. Not a post. Not a DM. Not a single whisper of gossip. But the story had a way of spreading on its own. Mutual friends started reaching out, cautiously, some even apologetically. They'd ask things like, "Hey, are you and Chloe okay? She's kind of been spiraling." I never gave them details. Just said we weren't together anymore. That I hoped she'd be all right. But they found out anyway. I don't know how exactly. Maybe through her mom, maybe someone saw the texts, maybe Chloe just cracked under the guilt and confessed. But suddenly, people started choosing silence over sympathy. Her closest friends unfollowed her. The girls she used to vent to stopped responding. One even messaged me privately and said, "Oh, we had no idea. You didn't deserve that." And then the cherry on top, Ben, the ex, he blocked her. Deleted everything. Apparently found out she'd been using him like a high, chasing temporary comfort while playing house with me. Chloe's hours at the cafe got cut because she started missing shifts. She told one mutual friend that she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, that everything felt like it was collapsing. I felt weird, not joyful, not smug, but like the universe had finally caught up. I wasn't rooting for her to crash. I didn't wish her harm, but I won't lie. Watching the balance shift, watching her feel even a fraction of the loss she dealt me, it brought a kind of quiet peace. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. Got a new gym routine. Took Milo on longer walks, reconnected with people I'd pushed aside to make room for her chaos. I still hadn't spoken to her. Didn't plan to, because for once, it felt like life was speaking for me. It arrived on a Wednesday, a plain white envelope, no return address, my name written in her handwriting, looping, soft. the same way she used to write notes on sticky pads and leave them on my coffee mug. I stood at my kitchen counter for a full 5 minutes before opening it. No shaking hands. No curiosity, really. Just a quiet heaviness. Inside was 10 pages, handwritten, front and back. The letter started with, "I know I don't deserve to be heard, but please read this anyway." She poured it all out, the fear, the guilt, the regret. She said she self-sabotages whenever she feels too close to something good, that she felt safest with me, but didn't know how to handle being loved without strings. That being with me made her feel like she was supposed to grow up. And she panicked. She wrote, "You loved me into a better version of myself, and I ruined it." She said the affair wasn't love, it was comfort in chaos. Something familiar. Something that didn't ask her to become more than she was. She didn't ask for me back. Not really. It wasn't that kind of letter. It was a confession. A goodbye. Maybe a plea for forgiveness she didn't expect to receive. I folded it neatly, slid it back into the envelope, placed it in the drawer next to the folder where I'd kept all my receipts and screenshots, not out of anger, but as a reminder that no matter how much love you give someone, you cannot carry them into healing if they're committed to bleeding on you. I didn't write back. That letter was the sound of a door closing, and I was already on the other side of it. There's a kind of silence that used to scare me. Back when Chloe was still in my life, silence meant she was pulling away again. It meant tension, doubt, overthinking, the kind that eats at you in the middle of the night and makes you wonder if you're the problem. Now, silence is where I breathe. I stopped chasing closure the day I realized I didn't need her apology to heal. I didn't need a final conversation or some poetic explanation, because betrayal says more about them than it ever did about you. That truth became my anchor. In the weeks that followed her letter, I began putting the pieces back together. Not to become a new man or prove anything, but to find the version of me I used to love before all the lies. I picked up extra work projects, the ones I'd put off to spend more time at home. I started traveling on weekends, even if it was just solo road trips with Milo in the passenger seat, tongue hanging out the window like he was chasing happiness for both of us. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years. I told the truth, not to make Chloe the villain, but to free myself from pretending I'd been okay. And surprisingly, no one judged me. They just listened and stayed. Therapy helped. So did long walks without my phone. So did saying no without guilt. But mostly what helped was time and distance, and remembering that peace isn't something someone else can give you. It's what you protect once you've finally found it. I wasn't bitter anymore. I didn't hate her, but I sure as hell wasn't mourning what I lost. Because what I lost was someone who could never appreciate what she had, and what I gained was me. Every so often, I get a text from a mutual friend. It's always some version of the same message. "Hey, Chloe asked about you. She says she's changed." Or, "She's been talking to a therapist. She wants to make amends." I don't get angry when I read them. I don't feel much of anything, honestly, just tired, and maybe a little sad, not because I miss her, not because I secretly want her back, but because she still doesn't get it. She still thinks this is about her mistakes, like there's a way to undo them. Like growth earns you a key back into the house you burned down, but there's no door here anymore. I tell the friends the same thing every time. I wish her well, but I've moved on. Please don't pass messages between us, and I mean it, because I don't hate her. I don't wish her harm. But I also won't hand her a rope just because she's finally learning not to set fire to things. She had full access to my heart, my money, my trust, and she gambled it all for a thrill. I've learned since then that the best revenge isn't some dramatic comeback. It's not making her feel what I felt. It's becoming untouchable to the ones who once had unrestricted access. I'm not the same man she left behind. And the door she keeps knocking on doesn't exist anymore. I didn't write this to bash her. If that's what you're expecting, I'm sorry to disappoint you. This isn't some revenge fantasy. I'm not here to humiliate someone who's already unraveling. I'm not here to turn my pain into entertainment. I'm sharing this because maybe, just maybe, someone out there is in the same place I was. Confused, exhausted, second-guessing every gut feeling. Calling it love when really, it's slow emotional erosion. If that's you, I want to say something loud and clear. You're not crazy. You're not asking for too much. And no, your expectations are not the problem, because if someone makes you feel drained, small, unstable, that's not love. That's extraction. Love shouldn't feel like proving your worth every day. It shouldn't feel like walking on eggshells around the person who claims to cherish you. If you're constantly doubting yourself, silencing your instincts, brushing off those moments when something just doesn't feel right, trust me, I've been there. I called it being supportive. I called it being patient. But really, I was abandoning myself to keep someone else comfortable. That's what this story's about. Not the betrayal. Not the affair. It's about finally listening to myself. So if you're watching this, and any part of you sees yourself in what I went through, please don't wait for the evidence to become undeniable. Don't wait until the silence in your relationship starts screaming, because the moment I stopped begging for love to feel right was the moment peace walked back into my life. You don't need a dramatic ending to walk away. Sometimes all it takes is deciding you're done, explaining your pain to the person who keeps causing it. People ask me if I ever think about her, and yeah, sometimes I do. Not with longing, not with anger, but with a strange kind of distance, like remembering a place you used to live in before the roof caved in. I think about how much of myself I gave, how deeply I loved, how hard I worked to be solid, dependable, safe, even when she made me feel anything but. And the truth is, if she had just been honest just once, I would have stayed. I would have forgiven. I would have fought for us with everything I had, but she didn't want truth. She wanted comfort, attention, chaos wrapped in excuses. And when she ran back to someone who broke her before, she didn't just betray me, she betrayed the version of herself I was trying to believe in. Now, I live differently. I guard my peace the way I used to guard her emotions. I don't apologize for my standards. I don't shrink myself to make someone else feel big. I'm still the guy who gives his whole heart. But now I give it to people who know how to hold it. And her? She lost me. Not in a dramatic storming out the door kind of way, but in that quiet, irreversible way that only happens when someone finally sees the truth and refuses to look away. I don't think she'll ever understand what she really lost. Because she thought I was paying off her loans. She didn't realize the real price was losing someone who would have done anything for her. That debt, she'll carry that far longer than I ever carried hers.